If you shopped Melrose in the 80s or the 90s, you didn't just go shopping. You were part of a cultural experience. You were part of a fashion experiment. And you were part of a goth ritual all at once. And if you weren't there, buckle up. I'm taking you for a walk down Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles for some of my favorite stores. I was lucky enough to go down to Melrose, Turner, at the end of the peak era. It was like the late 90s, early 2000s. And even if you've never been to Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles, you have definitely heard of some of these stores, and probably some of the stuff has shaped your style. So here's a store rundown of some of the stores and the clothing brands that I associate with Melrose. Red Balls. Now this is my number one favorite store in Melrose. It's not necessarily the quintessential goth shop in Melrose, but they did carry a lot of gothy clothes, and if you wanted to add actually a little neon to it, you could do that too. I guess it was perfect for that right at the edge of the 90s era of clothes, where you had fuzzy jackets and bright colors, and then you wear it with all fishnet underneath, right? In the mid to late 90s, we lived for that splash of neon green, you know? It was the key essential thing to add to your black outfit. Number two, of course, Retail Slut. I will definitely agree on the quintessential goth spots in town. Retail Slut was not just a place to go buy goth clothes. That was the place we went for the wall of flyers. That was our lifeline, our original social media, to find out where the cool club was, what DJs were playing, where anything cool going on in the evening that might be somewhat subcultural would be. And plus just taking those flyers home, back to wherever you live, and looking at them and thinking like, remember that night I went to that club, or remember that day I bought that flyer, or I picked up that flyer at Retail Slut. Back in the day when we wrote pen pals, we would send these flyers to each other in different cities. So we would have like a flyer from New York and things like that, which was super cool. If you walked into Retail Slut and did not grab a flyer, were you even goth? Poseurs. Now that was like where we buy creepers. That was creeper heaven. It's like, where else could you go to buy every single style of platform boot and then use the rest of Melrose as a runway? So here's where I'm getting a little confused. Here's where I get a little foggy on my memory. Sirius clothing. Now, I remember the brand Sirius very well in the late 90s. I would say Sirius was the original Doll's Kill in a sort of sense. A little bit more slutty, a little bit more glammy, but also had a little bit of that gothy aesthetic to it. And I know there was a Sirius shop on Melrose, but I can't remember if it was just called Sirius. Anyway, that was a key shop in the late 90s. Let me know if you remember that Sirius, or if you have any Sirius brand clothes. And I can't mention Sirius without also mentioning Lip Service, which I also believe had a store on Melrose, but that must have closed long before I ever was in town. You could go around Melrose and find Lip Service clothes at some other shops, and that was usually my like connection to Lip Service at the time, which is, you know, Lip Service has been around since the 80s, so it was definitely a vintage brand already in the late 90s, which is so cool, and it's still going today. So awesome of them. But yes, Lip Service, very much associated with Melrose Avenue. I definitely want to mention Necromancer. It's kind of a later place and more like just taxidermy and cute little gothy things that you can put around your house. But when my husband and I lived on Melrose, or right off of Melrose, we loved to walk down there, and I remember there was like a beaver or something, a taxidermy beaver we were looking at. We're like, he's only like $300. We should get him. That was a cool store. And moving kind of down Melrose, sort of like you're headed towards the higher end Melrose, Betsey Johnson. Now, Betsy Johnson is the quintessential 90s brand, and not necessarily goth, but for some reason it was. I think she kind of helped create pastel goth before it was even a thing. Because if you ever wanted to add a little pink or a little glitter or a little something glammy into your wardrobe and also keep it kind of gothy, she was the person who welcomed that. So definitely the Betsy Johnson store gets included in my Melrose Avenue quintessential shops. There's a few stores like Let It Rock and War Babies that I keep hearing about, but I never actually was around to experience. So if there are some of those stores from the 80s that really spoke to you, I know there's an endless amount of stores that we've probably all shopped in. Drop them in the comments because I want to know which ones I'm missing. And I have to take my hat off to a couple stores that are actually still around, like Headline Records, which we've all gone in to go buy records for, and also like it was a cool place to see t-shirts and tapestries. And also the other store that's quintessential Melrose store that's still there, Wasteland. And I know Wasteland's in a lot of different cities, but that place saved me a lot of nights when I was trying to find an outfit to go to a goth club with and I was having trouble. Wasteland will always save you with like a little vintage piece or a little jewelry or some little something that'll finish it off. Plus, it's a great place to buy your Kinder Horror slip dress, right? So now I need your help. Who remembers these stores? What stores do you remember that I don't? Did I miss any hidden gems? Drop them in the comments. And if you like nostalgia like this, check out some of my other videos where I talk about music, I talk about goth culture, fashion, style, anything kind of late 90s, Y2K. And yeah, Melrose was a moment, so it's still there too. Let me know if there's any amazing stores still on Melrose. I know it's still out there, hanging out. But if you were lucky enough to kind of hit those spots back in the day, they definitely mean something. So I will see you on Melrose Avenue or on the dance floor. Have a good one.